She slapped me across the face, in front of 200 guests, in her wedding gown, with photographers still snapping. The string quartet stopped mid-note. Gasps. Someone dropped a wine glass. I didn't flinch. I just stood there, cheeks stinging, heart thundering. My name is Emily, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because have you ever stood in a room full of people who were supposed to love you, only to realize they were applauding your humiliation? Let me rewind. She wanted my penthouse. Not borrowed. Not for photos. She wanted it given to her. It's symbolic, she said. You're single, childless. I'm starting a new chapter. It makes sense. I laughed. Thought she was kidding. She wasn't. She cried to my parents. Told them I was selfish. Told them I was blocking her blessings. And instead of shutting it down, my mother called me the next day and said, Emily, stop being difficult. It's just a penthouse. She's getting married. You have no one. I still said no. So on her wedding day, during the reception toast, she spun her champagne flute, smiled at me sweetly, and said, I just want to thank my sister Emily, who refused to give me what she didn't earn, but still showed up. You always were good at pretending to support people. Laughter. Polite. Tight. Then she walked over, hugged me with one arm, and slapped me with the other. A camera flash went off at that exact moment. The silence afterward was louder than the music had been all night. My parents? They laughed. My mom actually said, we told you to give it to her. It was your duty. Duty. Like I was some handmaiden in her fairy tale. I turned slowly, ready to leave. But then, a voice behind me, cool and deliberate. That's enough. Everyone turned. Standing at the back of the room, arms crossed, eyes sharp, was a man in a charcoal suit. Federal court badge clipped to his blazer. Judge Rowan. He looked straight at me and said, You want to press charges? My sister's face dropped. The room froze. Because what no one knew, he wasn't just a guest. He was my mentor. And I hadn't come alone. I'd come with witnesses, evidence, and something far more dangerous than revenge. Leverage. The entire ballroom held its breath. Judge Rowan stepped forward, calm but lethal, like a man used to commanding silence in rooms that echo with lies. She assaulted you in front of sworn officers, licensed attorneys, and 200 witnesses, he said. So I'll ask you again, Ms. Emily Green, do you want to press charges? My sister's face drained of color. Her groom looked like he'd just married a landmine. My father stepped between us, hands raised. Come on now. She's emotional. It's her wedding day. Judge Rowan didn't blink. Assault doesn't get a hall pass for florals and champagne. I looked at my sister, still in her $1,000 dress, still clinging to that sick, spoiled smile mask of hers. But she wasn't in control anymore. I gently turned toward him and said, Not yet. But I want this incident recorded. I want everything documented. He nodded, pulled out a slim notepad, and started writing. My sister's voice cracked. You're seriously doing this? You're ruining my wedding. I smiled calmly. No, sweetheart. You ruined it when you forgot that I'm not yours to humiliate. Gasps again. And then quiet applause. Soft. Scattered. From 2 tables near the back. People who had known. People who had watched. People who were tired of her cruelty in couture. I walked past her without another word. My mother hissed, Don't you dare leave. But I didn't stop. Because I wasn't walking out in shame. I was walking out in control. Outside, Judge Rowan caught up to me. She's going to spin it, he said. Cry on Instagram. Play the victim. I know, I said. And the media? I've got lawyers for that too. He nodded. You sure you don't want to file tonight? I paused. Let her sweat first. Because sometimes the silence before justice, it's louder than any sentence. I went home to my penthouse. Mine. Not gifted. Not begged for. Mine. I poured a glass of wine, sat by the window, and watched the city blink like it already knew. The girl they thought would crumble? She was about to flip the story. And it wouldn't be gentle. The next morning, my face was everywhere. Not hers. Mine. Someone at the wedding had filmed it. Her slap, Judge Rowan's voice, the stunned silence. The clip went viral before sunrise. Bride slaps sister for refusing to hand over Pnthouse. Then a judge stands up. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag sister not servant. Hashtag wedding wreck. Hashtag justice in heels. I woke up to hundreds of messages. Strangers. Friends. Colleagues. Even old professors I hadn't spoken to in years. But the most unexpected message? From my firm's managing partner. We saw the footage. We're behind you. And if you choose to press charges or go public, we'll represent you. At no cost. Because what they saw wasn't just drama. They saw entitlement punished. They saw a woman stand alone and not flinch. But of course, the damage control had already begun. My sister posted a blurry black and white selfie, holding a tissue to her eye. Captioned, "Weddings are stressful. Sometimes people provoke you. But family is still family. I just want peace." Peace? From the woman who slapped me across the face and tried to steal my home? That post racked up sympathy comments, until someone in the replies said, "You didn't want peace. You wanted property." And then people started reposting the video with her caption overlaid. Mockery. Commentary. Think pieces. She wasn't the victim anymore. She was the example. Later that afternoon, my parents showed up at my building. Didn't even call. The doorman rang me. "Mr. and Mrs. Green are downstairs. Says it's urgent." I told him to send them up. Not because I owed them anything, but because I wanted to look them in the eye and say the thing I never got to say growing up. I'm not your disappointment. I'm your consequence. The elevator doors opened. They looked rattled. Less arrogant. More exposed. My mother opened her mouth first. But I raised my hand. "Stop." I pointed to the couch. "Sit. Listen. This time it's my house. My rules." And when I was done, they didn't leave with my penthouse. They left with the truth. And it burned. They sat like strangers. The parents who raised me to be obedient, small, invisible. Now suddenly afraid of what I might say, with the world finally listening. My mother crossed her legs, trying to act composed. "We didn't think it would go this far," she said. "You embarrassed your sister on her wedding day." I tilted my head. "She assaulted me. She was emotional. And you laughed. That shut her up." My father cleared his throat. "Emily, you've always been dramatic." "No," I said. "I've always been quiet. And you mistook that for weakness." I stood, walked to the glass wall of my living room, and gestured toward the skyline. "You see this? The life I built? I did it without favors, without shortcuts, without asking anyone to give me what they thought I didn't deserve." They didn't respond, so I turned to face them. "You shamed me for being single, for being ambitious, for not handing over my home like it was a wedding gift wrapped in guilt." I took a breath. Then, softly, "Why was it so easy for you to side with her?" My mother blinked fast. "She needed help. So did I. You just never saw it because I didn't scream for it." They didn't have an answer. Just eyes full of shame they were 20 years late to wear. I walked to the door and opened it. "You raised her to take. And me to tolerate." My voice didn't shake this time. "I'm unlearning you both." My mother stood, stiff. "You can't erase family." I met her eyes. "I'm not erasing you. I'm setting a boundary. If you ever want to be in my life again, you'll need to start with an apology, not an excuse." She didn't say a word. Neither did he. They left. And for the first time, the sound of my front door closing didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like protection. I walked back to my window, poured another glass of wine, and opened my laptop. One email from a women's rights publication. Subject: "We'd love to feature your story." I smiled. Because the girl who used to be shamed for speaking up, she was about to make headlines. And my sister? She hadn't even read the fine print on what happens when you slap a woman who's finally done staying silent. By Friday, My sister's wedding photos were no longer trending, but I was. Every blog, every podcast, every panel with the headline. The slap heard around the internet, how one woman reclaimed her voice. I wasn't hungry for fame, but I wasn't hiding anymore either. I said yes to one interview. Just one. A calm sit-down with a respected journalist who opened with, "Why didn't you just give her the penthouse?" I smiled. Because I was ready. I was raised to believe that love meant giving until I had nothing left, I said. But all that ever taught my sister was how to take without asking. The clip hit 1 million views in 3 hours. And suddenly, women across the country were writing to me, "Your story is mine." I didn't go to my sister's wedding either. I thought I was the only one. Turns out, there are a lot of us. Girls who were raised to make room, keep peace, stay quiet. But the world was finally listening. And my sister? She tried to pivot again. Her next post was a selfie with a quote about forgiveness, followed by, "Healing is messy, especially when your wounds go viral." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Because healing isn't a hashtag. It's refusing to shrink back just because they're uncomfortable with your expansion. Meanwhile, my inbox kept buzzing. Lawyers, advocates, even a city councilwoman who wanted me to speak at a leadership summit. But the message that made me stop was from Judge Rowan himself. I spoke to the DA's office. "There's a path if you want to pursue charges. Your parents and sister will be subpoenaed. It's your call." I stared at the message for a long time. I thought about how she humiliated me, how they laughed, how they all believed I'd take it like I always had. And then I thought about justice. Not for the sake of revenge, but for the record. So, I typed 2 words. "Let's proceed." And with that, I stepped fully into the one role they never thought I'd claim. The woman who presses back. Not for drama, not for pity, but for every girl who was ever slapped into silence. The subpoena was served on a Thursday, at brunch, in front of her in-laws, while she posed with overpriced mimosas and fake laughter for Instagram. Poetic. She texted me an hour later. "No apology, no ownership. Just venom. You've officially ruined my life. I hope you're proud of yourself." I didn't reply, but I read it twice. Then I screenshot it, saved it, filed it. Because that wasn't a message, it was evidence. That weekend I met with the DA. They'd reviewed the footage. The slap. The intent. The statements made. The laughter from my parents. The witness list. Half the guest registry. "She thinks she's untouchable," the DA said. I shrugged. She's always had an audience. Now she has accountability. They offered me 2 choices. A public court case with press coverage and testimony, or a sealed hearing with a restraining order and official record. I chose the first, because I wanted the truth seen. Not whispered, not sanitized. Seen. The next few weeks moved fast. My lawyer prepped me for questions, tone, posture, history. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. I've been ready since the moment she raised her hand. The trial date hit headlines. Local papers called it the wedding fallout that shook the city. She went quiet online. My parents stayed silent, pretending none of it was happening. But the court didn't care about family denial. It cared about facts. On the day of the hearing, I walked in wearing the same navy suit I wore the day I closed on the Pnthouse, symbolic armor. She looked small on the stand. Gone was the socialite. Gone was the bride. Just a woman unraveling under the weight of her own entitlement. My lawyer asked, "Did you slap your sister?" She paused, then whispered, "Yes." And that one word cracked everything. The courtroom murmured. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't cry. I looked at the jury and said, "I wasn't hit because I was cruel. I was hit because I said no." And in my family, that was the real betrayal. When I stepped down, I felt something in my spine realign, something that had been dislocated since childhood. That night, I walked home past flashing cameras, reporters shouting my name, but all I heard was silence. The beautiful kind. The kind you earn when your voice finally drowns out the noise. The verdict wasn't explosive. No cheers. No gasps. Just the gavel. One clean strike. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff. She was ordered to pay damages. Not just financial, though those were steep, but legal recognition that what she did wasn't a meltdown. It was assault. And suddenly, the world she'd built on filters and fiction began to collapse. Sponsors pulled out of her social media deals. Her in-laws distanced themselves. Her new husband? Silent. It's hard to sell fairy tales when the court transcript reads like a confession. My parents didn't show up to the hearing, but I knew they were watching. And 2 days later, I got the email. From my mother. We didn't know it would go this far. Can we talk? Privately? I stared at the blinking cursor for a long time. Then I hit delete. Because there are some doors that should stay closed, especially when the people behind them only knock out of shame, not sincerity. Instead, I focused on building something new. I partnered with a women's advocacy group. Started mentoring young professionals, especially those taught to shrink themselves for family. Every story they shared felt like a page from my own past. But this time, I wasn't the girl holding back tears. I was the woman saying, "You can say no. You can walk away. You can start again, and you don't owe anyone an explanation." The headlines eventually faded. The world moved on. But I didn't need their attention. I had something better. Peace. And one afternoon, as I stood on the balcony of the penthouse she once demanded, I realized something. She tried to steal my home, my voice, my dignity. But what she really gave me was a platform. Not the kind you climb for applause. The kind you stand on when you've finally stopped apologizing for existing. The next time I saw her was by accident. A charity event. She walked in late, quieter, older, empty. We locked eyes. She looked away. And I didn't chase her. Didn't speak. Didn't wave. Because healing doesn't always need confrontation. Sometimes it just looks like not flinching. 6 months later, I hosted my first event, a rooftop gathering under warm lights, soft jazz, and a skyline that once felt too far away for someone like me. But not anymore. It wasn't a victory party. It was something quieter, more sacred. A space for women who'd been told to be the bigger person while being shrunk down to nothing. There were no toasts, no speeches. Just stories. Laughter. Healing that didn't beg for an audience. As the night settled, Judge Rowan approached me with a glass in his hand. "You changed more than just your story," he said. "You gave others permission to rewrite theirs." I smiled. But this time, it didn't feel like pride. It felt like release. After everyone left, I stood alone on the balcony. The same balcony she once wanted to claim as her own. I looked out over the city, the one I built myself in, brick by painful brick. My parents never reached out again. And I never went looking. Because sometimes, the greatest closure isn't the apology you're owed. It's realizing you never needed it to begin with. She took her slap. I took my power. And now, she walks in shadows of silence. I stand in rooms lit with truth. This penthouse? It was never just about real estate. It was about space. To live. To breathe. To no longer make myself small so others could feel bigger. And when people ask me if I forgave her, I say this. I didn't forgive the slap. I forgave myself for staying quiet for so long. And that's the kind of peace that doesn't get passed down. It gets rebuilt. By choice. By fire. By finally saying, "No more." And meaning it. Not the location I wanted. Her voice bounced across the ballroom like she was reviewing some thrift store purchase. Not the $560,000 condo deed I'd just handed her as a wedding gift. In front of 180 people. "Hi, everyone, my name is Lila Monroe. I'm 29. And tell me, what kind of sister laughs at a $500,000 gift?" My jaw didn't drop. I didn't gasp. I just smiled. Because this moment was my confirmation. The moment my brain clicked into exact formation. Every year of disrespect, every comment, every belittling side glance finally had context. At the table, someone whispered behind their champagne flute, "Did she really call it cheap?" Someone else giggled. And then, my mother leaned into my aunt and said, just loud enough, Well, Lila always buys modest things. Modest? A 2-bed, hardwood floors, downtown skyline view condo in Seattle. I sat back in my chair and watched my sister glow, not from gratitude, but from entitlement. Like, she expected to be worshipped. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't defend a single dollar. Instead, I looked right at her, the manicured princess in her beaded gown, and I said, "Don't worry. It's handled." She smirked like she'd won something. But right there, while the DJ announced cake cutting, I pulled out my phone. And it only took one text. One. I typed 5 words to the real estate attorney I'd hired 3 weeks ago, just in case my intuition was right. Execute reversal. Full reversion now. Send. She didn't hear it.
She didn't see it.
But I felt it. That tiny vibration in my palm was the moment her entire world shifted. She just didn't know it yet. The next morning, while she was still on her honeymoon flight to Maui, I was sitting in my car outside the King County Administrative Building, sipping an iced latte like it was any other Tuesday. Paperwork always feels colder when you see it in daylight. My attorney, Mr. Garner, slid the file toward me across the conference table. All done. Full transfer reversal. Title is legally back under your name alone. They'll get the notice by certified mail today. I signed. Just like that, entitlement evaporated into legal smoke. And this is where the human detail hits. As I walked back to my car, the barista from downstairs waved at me. She'd seen me here before. She had no idea the absolute atomic bomb I had just quietly set. On my drive home, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. Then 5 minutes later, another call. Then 10. Then 15. When it finally stopped, a text popped up from Mom. Urgent. Call US back immediately. I didn't. Instead, I drove to the condo itself. The one she called cheap. The sun hit the floor-to-ceiling windows like gold. I sat there on the balcony, and I swear, I could hear her voice from last night, fake laughing in front of all those guests, trying to sound superior. She really thought I was going to let that slide. That's the thing about staying quiet. People mistake silence for weakness. By noon, my sister's new mother-in-law messaged me on Facebook. The title company is saying the unit is not her name. Is this some misunderstanding? I screenshot it, saved it, because now, for the first time in my life, they were the ones scrambling for answers. And I hadn't even started talking yet. By evening, my sister finally got Wi-Fi in the hotel. That's when the screaming began. She called 9 times. I didn't answer. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then her new husband. The group chat lit up like a wildfire. Sis, what did you do? They're saying the deed is invalid. Oh, fix this now. You embarrassed our family. Dad, call the attorney immediately. SIS. People are talking. Fix it now. I typed nothing. Instead, I screenshot every message, every panic sentence, every threat disguised as urgency. And then, for the first time in years, I felt calm. I walked to my kitchen, poured myself water, stood by the sink, and just breathed. This wasn't revenge. This was correction. This was balance. The next morning on their honeymoon, instead of room service champagne, they got the certified notice at the front desk. Ownership reversal confirmed. Property is not transferred. The hotel manager handed it to them personally. The text came seconds later. SIS. Are you out of your mind? We already told his family it was ours. Then another. Mom. You humiliated her. Fix it. Fix it. I finally replied, just 6 words. Respect was the price. You refused. Silence. Then my sister tried one more angle. Okay, fine, can you at least retransfer it later? Maybe when we're done moving? That one made me laugh. Out loud, in my own kitchen. Because this is the part she never understood. I didn't give her that condo because she deserved it. I gave it because I was hoping just once she would choose gratitude over cruelty. She didn't. So I chose the deed over her. 2 days later, I'm at work, quiet morning, editing pitch decks, when my coworker Serena leans across the desk and whispers, "Hey, your sister is blowing up on Facebook." Like meltdown level. I raise one eyebrow. About what? Serena shows me the post. My sister ranting about a family betrayal and stolen real estate. 300 comments under it already, half of them asking questions she clearly can't answer. Then, mid-scroll, her phone rings. Her face goes pale. Someone named your mom is calling my phone. That's when I knew they were running out of people to reach. I tell her, calmly, don't pick up. She nods, puts the phone face down. At 12:17 p.m., I get an email from the title company confirming they'd received another request from my sister's side to reinstate her ownership. Denied. At 1:03 p.m., my sister's new mother-in-law adds me on LinkedIn, probably hoping to clarify. Denied. At 2:42 p.m., Mom texts again. This is getting out of hand. We raised you. You owe us loyalty. I stare at those words for a long moment. Loyalty? To the people who laughed at the gift? To the people who humiliated me to look impressive in front of strangers? My reply finally came, slow, steady, typed in perfect clarity. You don't get to mock the value of something and then demand to own it. Read. No response. At 6:12 p.m., my sister finally tried her last card. Okay, we're going to tell everyone you betrayed the family. No one will support you. I smiled, because that right there was the moment I stopped being the quiet sister in their story, and I became the narrator of my own. The morning after her meltdown post, around 7:30 a.m., while I was doing my skincare routine, phone propped on the bathroom counter, another notification popped up. Not from her. Not from Mom. Not from Dad. It was from her new husband's employer. Subject line: verification request, property status. I froze for a second, not emotionally, just because of the irony. He had bragged in the office that he and his new wife were property owners in prime Seattle. He'd used the condo as leverage in a negotiation. He'd promised his boss a private dinner party at their new place. And now HR was reaching out to verify his statement because his bragging had reached corporate compliance. I replied in one sentence. The property is under my name exclusively. No emotion. No context. No story. Facts are enough. 30 minutes later, my sister sent a voice note, her voice trembling, breath uneven. They're saying he lied at work. They might suspend him. Lila, you need to call them. Need? No. Boundaries aren't cruelty. Boundaries are mathematically fair. I typed back. Your consequences are not my job. At 9:12 a.m., her husband emailed me directly. We are begging you. Please transfer it back. Even temporarily. We can pay you back later. Pay me back later? They never even thanked me in the first place. I stood there, mascara wand in hand, staring at my own reflection, and realized, this is the first time in our entire lives. They were the ones asking. And I wasn't the one collapsing. I wasn't the one apologizing. I wasn't the one shrinking. For the first time, I wasn't the powerless sister. I was the wall. I was the limit. And they finally had to feel it. 3 weeks later, I attended a Women in Tech Mentorship Gala downtown. Crisp navy blazer, hair slicked into a low bun, a calmness in my spine that wasn't there before. At the lobby bar, I felt someone approach, not physically close, but emotionally familiar. That energy of discomfort. That little static tremble of someone who used to feel taller than me, now suddenly smaller. I turned. My sister stood 10 feet away. No makeup. Dark circles. Hands shaking slightly as she clutched her bag strap. Her voice was barely a whisper. The first time in our entire lives she wasn't performing for an audience. Lila, please. No cameras. No witnesses. No family to impress. Just two girls raised under the same roof, but carved into different shapes. She swallowed. I don't want the condo anymore. I just want you to talk to me. And there it was, not remorse, but hunger. Hunger for access again. I held my glass gently, feeling the chill of the stem under my fingertips. You don't get to come back because your audience left, I said softly. Her lip trembled. What do I do now? I took a breath, the kind that feels like mountain air, and answered with the only truth that doesn't rot. Grow without me. Her face collapsed inward. like she'd been waiting her whole life for me to save her from herself. But I wasn't built to be her stepstool anymore. I turned away, walked toward the theater doors, where women who respect value waved me over. Earning is louder than inheriting. Impact is louder than applause. Love is louder than entitlement. I stepped into a room full of people who saw me, really saw me, and as the lights dimmed and the event began, I finally understood. Power is not taking things back. Power is refusing to be claimed again. The next morning, I walked into the office with my latte, hair still damp from my shower, zero drama in my bloodstream, just clarity. By 10 a.m., my inbox was a circus. Her new mother-in-law emailed me directly. "We expect you to restore the property transfer today. This is humiliating for our family." Expect. They talk like the universe is a vending machine. Then my favorite one, a voice note from mom. "You're acting like a criminal. This is emotional cruelty. You're destroying your own sister." Criminal? No, criminal is forging signatures. Which, ironically, is exactly what the investigator found. Because while they were busy melting down publicly, I had already hired a compliance firm 48 hours before the wedding. Why? Because something in my gut told me to prepare. So when my lawyer called at 11:22 a.m. and said, "We found irregularities in their paperwork, forged income statements tied to your name," I didn't even flinch. I forwarded the entire file to the DA's office, time-stamped, notarized, attached with the original gift contract and the reversal approval. At 2:09 p.m., my phone buzzed with just 3 words from my attorney. "Case accepted. Proceed." I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. Not revenge. Remedy. By 4 p.m. the panic was visible online. People in the wedding guest photos quietly edited their captions. Her new husband deleted his post about owning property at 29. His mother switched her profile to private. And I realized something. Humiliation always catches the loudest people first because they never learn to whisper. That evening, I dimmed the lights, lit 1 candle, and cooked myself dinner. Slow, quiet, soft. Peace is loud when you've earned it. That night around 9:40 p.m., my Ring doorbell alert chimed. Motion detected. I walked to the foyer and pulled the live feed up on my phone. My sister was on my porch in her honeymoon dress. Mascara streaked. Hair frizzed. Shoes in her hand like she'd walked half a city block barefoot. Behind her, her new husband stood stiff, embarrassed, trying not to meet the camera lens. She knocked, first timid, then louder. "Lila, open the door. We need to talk." Her voice cracked on the last word. I didn't move. She tried again. I didn't mean it. I was just showing off in the moment. There it was. Not regret. Not realization. Not remorse. Image control. Her husband stepped forward, voice low. "Her parents are furious. Mine too. We need this resolved before Sunday. They already announced to our guests that the condo was ours." I stayed still, silent inside my house. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is the removal of access. He knocked once more. "Lila, you're ruining us." There it is again, the truth she never says out loud. Some people don't want relationships. They want resources. I let them stand there, 2 silhouettes trapped between humiliation and panic, until my porch light turned off automatically at 10 o'clock. Then I finally texted her, short and clean. "You laughed at the value. Now you get the value of that laugh." Delivered. No typing bubbles. No reply. Just 2 desperate people staring at a locked door they used to walk through like royalty. And for the first time, I felt the exact weight of power land where it always should have been. In my hands.
The garden party was in full swing when I arrived. White tents dotted the perfectly manicured lawn. Servers in crisp uniforms circulated with champagne flutes and canapes, and at least 60 guests mingled under the warm afternoon sun. It was Mom's annual spring celebration, bigger and more expensive than last year. I'd noticed the guest list had grown from 40 to 60, and the catering had been upgraded from basic to premium. I spotted her near the marble fountain, surrounded by her friends from the country club, women in pastel dresses and statement jewelry, men in expensive casual wear. She wore a designer dress I recognized from last month's shopping trip, the one we'd seen at Neiman Marcus, the one that cost $4,000. I remembered her trying it on, twirling in front of the mirror, saying, "I deserve this." "There you are," she said when she saw me approaching. Her smile was tight. "You're late. Traffic was bad. Happy spring, Mom." Her friend Margaret looked me over, her gaze lingering on my simple cotton dress. "Is that what you're wearing?" "It's comfortable," I said evenly. Mom's jaw clenched. "Could you at least pretend to make an effort? These are important people." "I'm here, aren't I?" She turned back to her friends, dismissing me. I walked toward the beverage table, exchanging polite greetings with guests I recognized. Most were from Mom's social circle, women who lunched at expensive restaurants, men who played golf at exclusive clubs. I'd grown up around this world but never quite fit into it. Even as a child, I preferred books to parties, saving money instead of spending it. Mom had always found that embarrassing. An hour into the party, I was talking with one of the caterers about their business when Mom appeared at my elbow. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "Having a conversation." With the help, in front of everyone, her face was flushed. "Do you have any idea how this looks?" "I was asking about their catering company. They do excellent work." "You're making me look bad." Her voice rose, drawing a few glances. "Mom, I was just." "You're an embarrassment." The words came out loud and sharp. The entire garden seemed to go quiet. Then her hand connected with my face. The slap echoed across the lawn. My cheek burned. My eyes watered from the impact. 60 people stared at us in stunned silence. "Get out," she screamed. "Get out of my house." I touched my face, feeling the heat there. For a moment, I couldn't move. Then I picked up my purse from the nearby table. "Understood," I said quietly. I walked through the silent crowd, past the shocked faces, past the servers frozen with their trays. Nobody said a word. I got in my car and drove home, my cheeks still stinging. That evening, I sat in my apartment and thought about the accounts. All the accounts I've been managing for the past 7 years. The ones Mom didn't think I knew about. The ones she certainly didn't know I was funding. It started when Dad died. He'd left Mom the house, but little else. His business, a small consulting firm, had failed 2 years before his death, eating through their savings as he tried desperately to keep it afloat. He'd taken out loans, maxed out credit cards, borrowed from friends. The life insurance barely covered the funeral costs and some of the immediate debts. Mom had been devastated, not just by grief, but by the sudden realization that she was broke. The house still had a $380,000 mortgage. Property taxes were $15,000 annually. She had $67,000 in credit card debt. The car she drove had 2 years left on its lease at $890 per month. Her country club membership, something she insisted was essential for social standing, cost $18,000 per year. She came to me desperate 3 months after the funeral. "I can't lose the house. I can't lose everything. This is all I have left of your father." I was 27 then, newly successful in my tech career. I just sold my first startup for $8 million. Mom didn't know about the sale. She'd never asked about my computer job. "How much do you need?" I asked. "The mortgage is 3 months behind. Property taxes are due. I have credit card debt." I looked at the numbers. It was bad, really bad. Without help, she'd lose everything within 6 months. So I made a decision. Through my financial manager, I set up a system. My investment accounts would automatically transfer money to cover Mom's expenses, mortgage, property taxes, utilities, her country club membership, her car payment, her credit cards, everything. The payments came from accounts in my business manager's name. Mom received notifications that an anonymous benefactor had established a trust for her benefit. She never questioned it, never wondered who was behind it. For 7 years, I'd funded her lifestyle. The house, the parties, the designer clothes, the luxury vacations, all of it paid for by the daughter she found embarrassing. I kept working, building my second startup, making careful investments. The $8 million had grown to $40 million. I could afford to support her. It seemed easier than confronting the truth, that she'd never actually become financially independent after Dad's death. But sitting in my apartment with a hand-shaped welt on my face, I made a different decision. Monday morning, I called my financial manager. "The accounts supporting Margaret Anderson," I said. "I want all automatic transfers stopped immediately." He paused. "All of them?" "Every single one. Mortgage, credit cards, utilities, club memberships. Everything stops today. She'll receive notification that the trust support has ended. Are you sure about this? Completely sure. Understood. I'll process the terminations within the hour. Next, I called the mortgage company directly. This is regarding the account for 2847 Riverside Drive. I'm the guarantor on that mortgage. I'm formally removing my guarantee effective immediately. The representative checked her system. Ms. Anderson, you've been the guarantor for 7 years. If you remove your guarantee, the primary account holder will need to qualify on her own, or the loan will be called. I understand. And you're certain? Yes. I'll process the paperwork. Mrs. Margaret Anderson will be notified within 48 hours. I spent the rest of Monday making similar calls to the credit card companies where I was the authorized payer, the country club where I'd been covering the membership fees, and the luxury car dealership where I'd guaranteed the lease. By Tuesday afternoon, the system I'd built over 7 years was completely dismantled. Wednesday morning, my phone started ringing. Mom's number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. There's some kind of mistake with my accounts. The bank is saying my mortgage payment was rejected. Call me. Thursday, she called 6 times. I deleted each voicemail without listening. Friday afternoon, she showed up at my office building. Security called up. Tell her I'm not available, I said. She's very insistent, Ms. Anderson. She's saying it's an emergency. Tell her to make an appointment through my assistant. She's asking about some accounts. She seems quite upset. Not my concern. Security convinced her to leave after 20 minutes. That evening, I received a text from my Aunt Linda, Mom's sister. Your mother called me crying. Something about her accounts being frozen? Do you know anything about this? I didn't respond. Saturday brought more calls. Sunday, my phone buzzed constantly. I turned it off and spent the weekend reading. Monday, exactly 1 week after the party, my financial manager called. I'm getting calls from multiple creditors, he said. Your mother's mortgage payment bounced. Her credit cards are being declined. The country club called about unpaid dues. Her car lease company is threatening repossession. As expected. She's also hired a lawyer. They're trying to find out who was behind the trust. They won't find anything actionable. The trust terms explicitly stated that support could be terminated at any time for any reason. They're claiming financial elder abuse. I laughed. She's 62 and perfectly capable of managing her own finances. Or she would be if she lived within her means. They're also claiming you had a verbal agreement to continue support. We had no agreement. I anonymously provided assistance through a trust. That assistance has ended. There's nothing illegal about that. Understood. I'll have our legal team prepare a response. Tuesday afternoon, my assistant buzzed my office. Your mother is in the lobby again. She has someone with her. Looks like a lawyer. Same answer. I'm not available. They're demanding to see you. Something about fiduciary responsibility. Call building security. If they're not gone in 5 minutes, we'll get the police involved for trespassing. They left after 10 minutes. Wednesday, the calls intensified. Mom called from different numbers, friends' phones, blocked numbers, numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of them. Thursday, she sent a letter by courier to my office. My assistant brought it in, marked urgent. I opened it. 3 pages of her handwriting, becoming increasingly desperate. I don't understand what happened. The bank says someone stopped paying my mortgage. My credit cards are maxed out, and the payments aren't going through. The country club is threatening to revoke my membership. My car is being repossessed next week. Please, if you know anything about who was helping me, I need to find them. I'm going to lose everything. At the bottom, I'm sorry about the party. I was stressed. Please help me. I put the letter in my desk drawer and returned to work. Friday afternoon, my financial manager called again. Your mother's house is going into foreclosure. The bank filed papers this morning. She has 90 days. That's standard procedure. Her credit cards have been canceled for non-payment. The country club terminated her membership. Her car was repossessed yesterday. Thank you for the update. There's one more thing. She started a GoFundMe, claiming she's a widow facing homelessness due to financial hardship. That's her choice. It's raised $300 in 2 days. Not surprising. Her actual friends know she's been living beyond her means for years. 2 weeks after the party, Aunt Linda called from Mom's phone. You need to talk to your mother, she said. She's falling apart. The house is in foreclosure. She has no money. She can't even afford groceries. She can get a job, I said calmly. She's 62 years old. Plenty of people work at 62. In fact, most people don't have the luxury of retiring early. How can you be so cold? She's your mother. She slapped me in front of 60 people and threw me out of her house. She said that was a misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding. She was clear about how she felt. So you're just going to let her lose everything? I'm not making her lose anything. She's losing things because she can't afford them. That's called consequences. But you could help her. I could. I'm choosing not to. This is cruel. What's cruel is slapping your daughter at a party because she talked to a caterer. What's cruel is calling her an embarrassment in front of her entire social circle. I'm simply stepping back from a situation that no longer serves me. Aunt Linda hung up on me. 3 weeks after the party, my financial manager sent me a detailed report. Mom's house sale was scheduled for foreclosure auction. Her credit rating had dropped 200 points. She'd moved in with Aunt Linda temporarily. She'd applied for several retail jobs but hadn't been hired yet. She's also been telling people that you cut her off, he added. Some of her friends have been calling your office. Forward all such calls to our legal team, I said. Already done. A month after the party, I received one final letter, hand-delivered by courier, marked personal. Inside was a single page. I know it was you. Linda helped me figure it out. You were paying for everything, for 7 years. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But now I understand. You were taking care of me, and I treated you terribly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please help me. I'm begging you. I'll lose the house next month. I have nowhere to go. Please. I read it twice. Then I pulled out my phone and typed a response. You're right. It was me. I paid your mortgage, your bills, your country club fees, your car lease, your credit cards. For 7 years, I funded the lifestyle you thought you were entitled to. You never asked where the money came from. You never questioned the anonymous trust. You just spent it. And while I was paying for your designer dresses and garden parties, you called me an embarrassment. You slapped me in front of your friends. So now you can figure out how to support yourself like the rest of us. Consider this your education in financial independence. I didn't send it. Instead, I deleted it and wrote something simpler. The trust that was supporting you has ended. I have no information about who established it or why it was terminated. I suggest you speak with a financial advisor about living within your means. I sent that one. Her response came immediately. It was you. I know it was you. How can you do this to your own mother? I blocked her number. The house sold at auction 6 weeks after the party. Mom moved into a small apartment across town, working part-time at a department store. I heard all this through Aunt Linda's occasional updates, which I didn't ask for but didn't stop. My business continued to thrive. The startup I'd been building went public 3 months after the party, valuing my shares at $70 million. I bought a larger apartment downtown, donated significantly to charities supporting domestic violence survivors, and established a scholarship fund for women in technology. Sometimes I drive past Mom's old house. A young family lives there now. They've added a playground in the backyard where the party tent used to stand. I never responded to any more of Mom's messages. Eventually, they stopped coming. My financial manager asked me once if I regretted my decision. I thought about it carefully before answering. No, I said. I regret enabling her for 7 years. I regret not letting her face reality sooner. I regret thinking that money could buy me respect or love, or even basic decency. But I don't regret stopping. That's fair, he said. I built my success by recognizing when an investment wasn't paying returns. Mom was simply the hardest investment to walk away from, but like any good business person, I learned to cut my losses. She taught me that love has conditions. I simply taught her that support does too. We both learned our lessons that spring. The difference is, I learned mine voluntarily.